graphic truth, to me, a lack of subjectivity in photography as an artistic medium.
You feel like the photographer themselves, they kind of choose what they want someone to see. So you can't always take it as truth?
Yeah, they choose perspective, they choose cropping, or just how much they want to include in a frame. So you could just, even before you're doing the post-processing, you're making a lot of very deliberate choices in how you view something and choose to have the audience perceive it. Images of women in the media are altered or photoshopped, airbrushed, whatever. It becomes really obvious that most women have some knowledge of the fact that the images that they see aren't necessarily what people walking down the street look like on a daily basis. But I'm not sure that they're aware of the extent of it. Yeah, there's the makeup, there's a lot of women who are commonly portrayed in the media are subjected to getting plastic surgery. They're often pressured into it. There's a lot of stigma against aging women on television. A lot of anchor women find themselves ousted from their positions for aging too obviously. A lot of the times men are portrayed very differently, that age conveys a certain wisdom or authority, whereas aging is apparently portrayed really differently for female voices in the media.
What you see in the magazines and stuff isn't real per se, but yet it somehow wiggles its way into our subconscious somehow, and we still we criticize, and there's a part of us that thinks it is attainable.
I know that fads and standards of beauty change very rapidly over time, but I think that those standards kind of thrive on an idea that that standard is something that isn't attainable to most people, which is largely tied into wealth. Years ago, when it was considered very attractive for a woman to be very pasty and kind of pudgy, that was a signifier of wealth. That was a woman who was not of the labor class. She got to stay in and out of the sun and eat delicious food all day. I think the ideal of tanned thinness is more indicative of perhaps a class that is at leisure to go on vacation, and as opposed to a lot of working class Americans who can't necessarily afford nutritious foods that help prevent obesity and other problems. Receive input from multi-million-dollar industry, commercial, movie, TV show, magazine, something that's essentially selling you something, whether that's your viewership or selling a product. And then seeing that that posturing, that reenactment in the halls of my middle school, the way that really insecure girls would spray themselves down with whatever body spray was being advertised in their 17 magazines, so they didn't have to be ashamed of, whatever changes they were going through during puberty.
Yeah.
I think media influence in youth culture is most exaggerated when youth are kind of coming of age and becoming very aware of
it seems a lot is put on their physical appearance.
Convincing someone that they can attain an object of desire or a positive feeling by buying into the product that they're selling. And so a lot of advertising today doesn't even show the product. A lot of fashion advertising, you'll see the brand name, but you'll just see sometimes a naked person, just oh, this is my facial expression and I'm conveying this, which is how you're supposed to feel when you buy this. drowning themselves in Axe body spray. They see these like, Studley dreamboats on TV, like spraying themselves down and then creating a magnetic effect in which they're like up to their neck in pussy. A lot of those kids would honestly be embarrassed to admit that they buy into that, because when you put it in front of them, like a media literacy class does, which is why it increases awareness, when you put that out in front of them, you just see how ridiculous it is. And I think that detracts from a lot of the power that the media influence has over you.
You have a talking cat. And like how food has been advertised towards women, women tend to want to eat in secrecy
Yeah.
and in behind closed doors, almost
Yeah.
like it's
Shameful.
a shameful thing. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
God. I think a lot of gendering in advertising is like really obvious through food marketing. The frozen aisle in a grocery store, you'll see the lean cuisine and you'll see the hungry man. The lean cuisine is marketed to the woman who is watching her figure, and she's feeling really good about herself in the break room of her 9-to-5 job because she's making calorically low choices, and she's gonna make her New Year's resolutions. Hungry man does not care about his waistline. He just wants a hearty meal. He wants the steak. He wants the mashed potatoes, and he's gonna feel good about it. There are Carl's Jr. commercials in which they would have various models or just like hot women on top of cars, like downing greasy cheeseburgers and stuff.
Very sexual.
Yeah, I think it's sexualized. The food gets fetishized, but I mean, how would people's reactions to those commercials be if it was maybe an average or even overweight woman rubbing a cheeseburger all over herself? Would that create disgust? If anything, it would definitely change the tone of the commercial.
And how many burgers they sell.
And how many burgers they sell.
The differences between really just looking at something and seeing something.
We're talking about different levels of perception.
Yeah.
You're talking about simply viewing what's in front of you versus interpreting what that means.
How do you think social media has played a huge role in this movement?
I keep hearing how unorganized this movement is when I've been regularly checking the websites and just seeing how people are forming committees within the occupation camps and how camps are communicating with each other using these new social networking tools. And people have such a good grasp of them. People have been, in the face of police brutality, kids will hold up their iPhones and then almost instantly send that clip of the police brutality to all of their friends who now know what's going on, which attracts more people to come down there and creates more solidarity, and it creates dialogue. It's regardless of how little gets covered in mainstream corporate media, these tools are creating an unstoppable force that keeps people informed. Our generation's trust of mainstream media sources is getting greatly diminished, and I think with good reason. I think people are becoming very aware of the influence of corporations, of people with a lot of money and power who are kind of hell-bent on portraying a very specific image of themselves or their causes, their values, without necessarily presenting the other facets of these entities to a population that has a need to be informed.
Communication, like you go out on a date, like sometimes it's a little more intimidating now because we're so used to, I have 10 minutes to think about what I'm going to say, but now it's like, shit.
Yeah.
So conversation skills are like starting to deplete, diminish. I
Well,
think, through that, because you
Yeah.
don't have, I mean, people text more than they call each other on the
Yeah,
phone, or,
yeah.
you know.
Talk about the experience that you went through when you gave it all up for 1 week. What all did you give up and how did it affect you?
Uh,
did you-
Facebook, texting, internet in general. Interesting, because I love music. I listen to music like constantly, so that was interesting to like the silence. You could hear the music when you're out in a grocery store. You know, it's something I never noticed before. You know, you can, when you go to like a bar or something, you can see like the TV is on, like it really stands out and it's loud. And it's just like, how do people like not pick this up? Why do we need to cool off every day? Why do we need that like veg out time, that time where we can like shut off our brains? What part of our lives is so like stressful that we all need this like time where we can watch hours and hours and hours of television? Technology is expanding, and like, you know, it's trying to make things better, but is it really improving our lives, or is it just filling the time in between things? Is it really knowledge is at our fingertips at any time. If you have a conversation with a friend and it's like, oh, I don't know the answer to that, you can Google it on your phone. Technology is trying to make our lives better and easier, but we're becoming weaker because of it. We're becoming dependent on it.
Maybe dependent you are upon some of this stuff? Like, did it stress you out or bring anxieties?
In the beginning, it was a little bit like, God, what do I do? I don't even
Yeah.
know, like, because that's, you would come home from school or work and you're just like, well, I'm gonna drink a beer and watch a movie. But like, the first few days were like figuring out what to do with my time.
Did you feel pretty disconnected?
Disconnected, but I don't know, it felt really good to like purge a little bit, you know. It's just like, you really need to be connected to all these random friends, you know, on Facebook that like you don't really ever talk to or like have a conversation with. Like you more, you know, spending time with people who are right in front of you. It's like little pieces of connection. It isn't like true connection.
Yeah.
It's like you're not getting to know the person you're spending time with. That the people that you can see, you're like spreading yourself too thin. Or like Facebook doesn't really make you connected. It just like sort of makes you more distant. I don't know. It's weird.
It's kind of a little bit of both.
Right.
And you're right. I agree. Like, I feel it spreads you very thin amongst a many group of people. You don't have those deep dialogues and conversations
Right.
as you would face to face. But
You know, I have like 30 numbers on my new phone. It's like all those people I never talk to. Like, do I really need their phone number? Do
Yeah.
I really need to keep track of them? Oh.
man, oh, this is good. All right.